Well, guys, welcome back. I don't know if you remember chatting to me because it was a while back now. It was for Fat Man.
Yes.
Dude, thank you so much for
Man,
circling back on this one. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
man, I was waiting in the wings there. What's that been like 4 years?
Oh, this movie thing, it's not as easy as they say, getting them made.
So, see, last time we spoke, if I remember correctly, there were plans for a Fat Man too. Did they fall through, or is it just Mel super busy?
It seems to be a constant work in progress. We've definitely got the idea. Like we've actually got a couple of pitches coming up for that IP. But yeah, it's just an amalgam of things, right? Like we had it set up somewhere, and then that kind of not necessarily fell through, but then they turned their interest, and now we're pitching another place. And yeah, it's just been I mean, Mel's down, Marianne's down. We've talked to the talent, they're pumped to do it. We've got to set it up somewhere.
So, in the
It'll go.
4 year gap, have you have you guys just been penning action movies, thriller movies, drama movies, and seeing what you can get brought to screen?
Yeah, we've
It's
definitely been in the writer's room quite a bit the
Yeah.
last couple of years. But I will say, for us, a movie is such a three-pronged process, right? Like we go from directing it and then we go right into editing it. So Ian and I, edit the pictures, and that's also another. It's almost like a 2-year process getting anything done for us,
Yeah.
just because we are so heavily involved in every leg of the journey.
Yeah, we can't a lot of directors, I won't say most, but a lot of directors can, let their editor handle the heavy lifting as they sort of go off and write their next thing or start working on other projects, whereas we're pretty immersed in it all the way until it's released.
I mean,
So,
because we are like literally manning the editing controls, so
Yeah.
it's a full time gig.
so, what inspired this story?
For Red Right Hand, well, the
Yeah.
script came to us, and man, we just loved what was on the page. Jonathan Easley wrote a great script with the characters left off the page. Um, we, I will say, like Orlando instantly came to mind. So when we had a great meeting with him a little earlier on before the script came to us, and we were like, oh man, I think if we could make this with Orlando, like that could be really, really special and really fun.
Yeah, one of the cool angles for us was just putting him in something that he'd never done before in a way we had never seen before. And reading through the script with the character and his relationships and the action sequences. And man, we were just really excited to put him in some really sticky situations and see how he reacted as an actor. And man, we had such a blast working with him.
His character actually, it made me sort of chuckle when I was watching it because I was like, he reminds me of something, and then I was like, oh my god, this is Daryl Dixon before the apocalypse.
It very
That's,
well could be. Very well.
Yeah, he's definitely channeling uh that Southern noir, man. He nailed it.
yeah, I was gonna say as well, like you guys definitely brought a new sort of spectrum, if you want to call it that, to Orlando because you've never sort of seen him in a down, dirty action thriller like this before.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
Oh, go ahead.
sorry. Yeah. We actually seen him. He showed us a couple of his films. What's the one where he's carrying the cross around us? Revelation.
Retaliation or something.
I can't remember what it is, but it's a really nice drama.
Can you not hear me?
Um, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
It's a really nice drama. And we'd seen him do that sort of down and dirty drama before, but yeah, you're right. I mean, we'd never seen him do anything like this before, and that is exactly what pumped us up about it. I
And
guess as far as the whole project, I mean, there was just the characters across the board were fantastic. Um, like Annie McDowell's character, Big Cat, another character that we were really excited to put on the screen. And then all her henchmen and Garrett Dillahunt's character, Wilder, like another one that we were really excited to do. Yeah, there's a Chapel's character, like and Scott Hayes' character, and I mean and even some of the little subsidiary characters, that have some big moments, like Mo McRae's uh torture scene, and like don't try not to ruin anything here, but and
Spoiler. Let's go, bro.
Mo McRae and Brian Garrity, had some really fun moments. Yeah, man, it was a blast. of a film with a lot of really cool little moments in it.
And Andy McDowell, she plays such a different character to anything you've seen her play as well. Like her role, she's such a bitch, you know?
Yeah,
Like you
man.
just can't wait till the finale. You're just like, come on, she needs her, her second servants.
Yeah. I gotta say, like when we talked to Andy initially about the role, man, we just had a casual little like Zoom call about it. They're like, "Hey, Andy McDowell's interested." I'm like, "Amazing! Like, I cannot wait to talk to her about
That
this."
sounds wild. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously we love her work, and we're like this, but we honestly didn't think it would be something she would even be interested in because it is so diametrically opposed to what she had done in the past, right? She's had little sprinklings of that kind of stuff throughout. And then when we talked to her on the Zoom, man, she kind of showed up wearing a little bit of Big Cat's skin. You know, she was a little in character, and I don't
Even the
think
way
it
that she
was,
was dressed, even the way she was
yeah,
dressed was
those
like
like leather pants and
was
like it was like
badass. You're like, whoa, okay, bit of a badass. Wasn't expecting that, you know?
and
Yeah.
yeah, and she was like, like I can handle this character. This is like people don't know this. I got this in me, and we're like, oh, I believe it. I believe it.
I'm
And no,
seeing it. I'm seeing
yeah.
it.
And so yeah, when she came out, she did not disappoint for us, man. She was electric out there.
And is this what I like to call them anyway? Like miracle movies? Is it one of these movies that looks really big when you're watching it, but you guys were literally pulling your hair out to try and get the schedule filmed?
It's
Yes.
that's a hard yes. Uh, I think every movie feels like that when you're in the middle of it, but this one definitely had some challenges. Kentucky in the spring is a volatile beast. And
Can
while
be a
it
challenge. We have now realized.
yeah, and while it photographs absolutely beautifully, there's tornadoes, there's lightning storms. It's a temperamental beast over there, and it definitely that it all came together in the end many times feels like a miracle.
Yeah, and I think Ash said it at one point while we were making it. It's like it's almost like this film wanted to be made in this sort of tumultuous time in Kentucky because yeah, like even those opening shots with the drone shots, like that's the real weather. Those are real shots off the hillsides. And it looked like that, you know, like it was this kind of wild beast, you know, not necessarily ready to be tamed.
It definitely brings a more authentic feel to the movie, doesn't it? Rather than being one of the movies that relies on everything done on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I mean, there's that volume wall is obviously like pretty impressive. Our DP actually went and shot something on a wall right after Red Right Hand, and we went over there and popped in and saw it. And it looked fantastic. But I do think you're absolutely right, Jeff. Like, there's an air of authenticity when you're immersed in it, right? When you're out there feeling the canvas of the trees and the mountains and the hills, and you're surrounded by the locals, so to speak. It really was, man. Like Ian said, it's like it felt like the aesthetic of the film that we were going after, the environment, the nature, like it all conspired to be what it is in the film. It just there was no other way it could have been made.
And what was the sort of like the film? It's like a slow burner. It starts off and you get to know the character of Cash, which I think it starts really well. You get to know him rather than you're not thrown into he's like this big badass, like thug sort of wannabe or anything. Get to know him, get to know he's a family man. He'll do anything for his family, and then shit kicks off and we've got all these glorious action sequences that pop up. What was the most challenging like action sequence to put together?
I mean, in my memory, it was the last action sequence, and mainly because things
When you say
happened
the
with
last
weather.
action sequence, like you mean the last 45 minutes of the film?
Exactly. And I mean that because one, it is such a long action sequence, and two, there's a lot of moving pieces in the house, out of the house, a lot of characters moving in and around there. And one tracking that, but the second half of tracking that when we had weather issues and then we had to leave the location for like a week and a half and shoot a bunch of other stuff of like Cash at his house, and all that was shot in between. There was like a week and a half intermission of shooting that that shootout in the house, outside the house, running around the house, that we had to do, that then you had to add a layer of tracking what we did a week and a half ago, which was it was rough. It was rough, but I mean, thank goodness we made it work. We had a good team. Everybody was in it to win it, and the actors were game, literally picking up. I recall the second half of like a hallway shootout in a week and a half after we shot the first half of it, which was just nuts.
It sounds nuts. Because you can't really imagine when you're seeing it in, like, when you're watching the movie, that you film sort of one segment, just say this day, then the next day you film that segment. You'd assume the whole thing was just shot in one day.
And
No,
that would have
right?
been
That's
a lot easier.
yeah, like nothing's ever chronological. Which you learn, because of actor availability and just where you got to be and what's like locations are going away when, so you're running around trying to get what you have available when. This is obviously not a tremendous, not a huge budget movie, so you gotta play with your numbers a little bit, and you gotta pull off the miracles, like as you said earlier, when whatever it takes. I will say, like, for us, to have an action scene get you invested, we firmly believe that you need to be invested in the characters, or else
Yeah.
the action sequences don't have a lot of weight to them. So for us, we do like to spend that time getting you invested in character before we go drop you into a heavy duty action piece, so that the stakes are elevated and you actually hopefully have some investment in the characters.
Without sort of giving away spoilers here and there, the movie's got like a very gritty, realistic feel to it. For instance, without saying which character, but there's like a scene towards the end where there's like a 3-on-1 fight, and then the fella hits him with the pan, but then the three are gonna beat his ass, which they do. And then Cash, as much as he is a badass, he does take his fair share of like a beating, doesn't he?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
everybody in the film, there's some collateral damage to be had, some heavy duty battering throughout. I think
But
for
I don't
us,
know, I like that. I like that trope in an action film, right? Get a guy down and watch him fight his way back out of that hole. That's
or
always
is he going to fight his way back out? Right? If you stack
true.
the odds so far against them, you're like, man, that's pretty hard to come back from. And then, but if you really beat the tar out of them, I think it's worth it. We love to make up people, keep them busy.
Do their job. That's right. Give them something to do.
Yeah.
And then see sort of after the hype of Red Right Hand is sort of settled, what can we expect from you guys next? Because I'm sure there is just projects waiting to be exposed.
Yeah,
We've
I
got
think. Look,
something. We've got you. Sorry, we've got something that we've written that we're pumped to do. We've been writing a giant sci-fi as well. That we're pumped to get going after that one. I mean, I guess whatever order they go, they land. But you don't quite know. You think you have an idea of how it's going to fold. It's all going to sort of unfold, but then it has its mind of its own sometimes. So yeah, we're interested in heading we love this genre, and it's definitely something that's always a part of a lot of what we do. But there's definitely some in the future here. There's definitely some tangents we'd love to swerve into.
Yeah,
And
I do think that we'll be circling back to the dark comedy thriller. That seems to be what's coming up next, and then hopefully delve into some of those bigger science fiction projects.
am I right in suggesting that Red Right Hand is a one and done? Because from the feel of the movie, you've put Cash through enough shit that you couldn't do that to him again.
I
I
mean,
like the idea. I like the idea of a Red Right Hand television show. I think there is such a world there. Kind of an Ozark type of vibe of a world anyway. Different stories, but that type of world that I think could be really fun to explore and extrapolate on. The writer was talking a little bit about doing that.
I mean, hey, there were some loose ends. It didn't all get tidied up
Exactly.
so well. And Cash, did he survive? I don't know.
What's
Yeah.
going on there?
Yeah, I have to say though, it did open with that '80s vibe of Cash doing a workout, smoking a cigarette.
Oh yeah, no, that was man. I don't know what it is. I think it might be our love of '80s cinema. those kind of sequences have a special place in our heart. And yeah, I think when we pitched that to Orlando and he saw it in the script, he was equally as excited for it. And he came prepared, man. I mean, my goodness, the man's a specimen. And he was like, "Wait a second, I'm gonna be doing this with a smoke in my mouth," and we're like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I love it. Let's go, let's go." So yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, he definitely got the fun of it, and you know, it's definitely a very grounded movie, which we love to do. We love to take some pretty fantastical things and try to ground them, and that '80s vibe is definitely something that is really fun to try to make as real as possible. You know,
We'll push it to the bleeding edge.
exactly.
I loved every bit of the movie. It was just one of the movies you go in, you invest in the characters, and then you really want the villain to meet their demise, and then you get some cool, like, sort of throwbacks to the glory days of cinema. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
Oh,
which,
thank
like,
you, Jeff. Appreciate that, man.
yeah, like for us, it's like Die Hard, right? Like the glory days.
Yeah. You just don't get them days anymore. Sure, you don't. Everything's sort of just, it's superheroes, right? Basically, at the end of the day, it's really rare you get sort of the solid action movie we used to get.
I
Yeah,
think we might get a
So
comeback.
yeah, I mean, the one thing we like about this genre as well, you know, is has kind of a '70s vibe to it as well, right? It's like, you know, like a Rolling Thunder type of vibe. Like there's, you know, there's the revenge element of it. There's the, you know, he doesn't really walk into a house and kill 15 people with the wave of his hand and a wand and a gun, you know. Like we like to try to keep it. I hate to say realistic because it is you know
Let's be clear, this is pretend, right? We're in the
yeah,
movies, but yeah,
exactly.
like there should be a
But to try, I
shred
get
of belief to it.
right. Maybe just the phrase of like grounding it a little bit, right? Where he can't walk into a house and like, you know, do gun jitsu and knock people on their ass, you know, knock 25 people on their ass in a second. For some reason, you know, the guy behind him isn't reacting quickly enough to shoot him. Yeah, just moments like that at times, I think we try to think our way through and try to ground as much as possible in that kind of '70s vibe where, yeah, man, it feels it's a bit of like grindhouse wish fulfillment, you know. I don't know.
yeah,
There's something to it that we really dig because it's like I said, I don't want to say realistic, but it's definitely more grounded than a lot of the stuff that's out there.
yeah, I
Not that we
agree.
don't love some gun fu.
Yeah, there's movies I love as well where people are getting knocked off by the dozens.
But sometimes it's good just to get a good old fashioned, as you said there, when you said 60s, 70s sort of thing, and I seen the poster in the background, I was like, Charles Bronson.
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
like
love
those
that.
old, you know, it's like we were just watching Magnum Force the other day, you know, and we're like, oh yeah, you know, like that's our wheelhouse, you know, Magnum Force. Ian, great get with Rolling Thunder, Bronson. I mean, such iconic films and stars, you know.
Well, guys, I'm gonna have to love yous and leave yous, because I could talk movies all day with you guys. But I'm sure there's other people waiting to have a jaw wag too, and I don't want to ruin all the excitement for them.
Jeff, we can't thank you
Really
enough, man.
appreciate it,
Really, really
man.
appreciate your time, brother.
Man, let's not make it 4 years next time.
No,
We're gonna do our best. We're gonna do our best to get out of the bag here very quickly.
Well, do you know what? It was worth the 4 years. Let's put it that way.
oh,
Oh,
awesome.
thanks, man.
I'm
Appreciate
glad
it.
you enjoyed it, brother. It means a mountain to us. It really does.
It does. It really does.
Yeah, definitely. Let's not make it so long. And I can't wait to see how everyone else's reaction is to the movie. And I'll be sure to keep a lookout for the sci-fi movie as well.
Awesome.
Brilliant, brother. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. See you guys later.
Be
Thanks,
good, man.
man. Have a
Talk
great
soon.
day.
You too.